Again, I'm Paul, this is Jeremy. News isn't something I want to do all the time, but this is big news, and we can get a little timely with it. You know, it just broke like 6 hours ago. I got to hear it from you first, because I'm going to be over the top.
I don't know if you want to
think?
hear from me. So what's the news?
Okay, Disney and Sony broke up. And it makes sense to me from a business point of view for both of them. I'll get to that in a little bit. It's still not a good idea. It's a terrible idea. It makes sense on paper, but it's not a good idea.
So here's my original, just off the cuff impression that I had about it was that Sony probably made the worst decision ever, just from my standpoint. And I don't know as much around the logistics of some of the back and forth, the talks between the two. I from what I've read is that Sony was giving Disney 5% on the dollar for their movies. In return, Disney wanted to renegotiate for a 50-50 deal. Sony didn't want to give up that much equity, nor their library, their catalog of characters in that deal. The problem that I have with this is that the producer, Kevin
Feige, I think.
Feige, okay. I've been pronouncing it wrong to myself all
I've
day.
only recently heard that pronunciation. I can't swear by it.
All right, so we'll go with Feige for this conversation. So Kevin Feige, for the past, 10 years, 23 movies, has...
It wasn't until I saw the article today that it really dawned on me, like, holy God, this guy is the golden boy.
That's what I was just going to say. He's got a Midas touch right now. Anything he touches turns to gold. I agree. And for Sony to let that go.
He's got to get it. He's got to be like the one guy that gets it. Like,
Yeah.
if you get it, whatever you're doing, if you get it, you'll be good at it, and you will excel.
Yeah.
But
No, I agree. And even from the consumer standpoint, I'm going to be quite honest with you. I lost interest in Spider-Man. Long time ago, I lost interest in Spider-Man. And then Marvel steps in. They put their touch on it. I still wasn't sold at Civil War when he made his appearance, to be quite honest with you. But then I saw Homecoming, and it was like being a kid again. I became a fan all over again.
saying you weren't impressed in Civil War, that's a bold statement, sir.
It is. It is. And I'll probably get run over in the parking lot afterwards, but I still just wasn't sold on Spider-Man. And I think that's because I was, I had so many disagreements with it leading up to. I came in with a lot of reservations as to what they were going to do with Spider-Man. I think it had to go anywhere but up from the last Sony-controlled Spider-Man, but I still wasn't sold on it just because maybe he didn't get enough screen time or whatever. But then, like I said, I saw Homecoming, and I thought it was great. And what was it? Far From Home, I thought was just as wonderful.
Equally fantastic.
Yes.
And better.
No,
I
agree.
It's been a while since I sat next down to both of them, but.
And it's also been a while since I bet you can probably say that the second one was just as good, if not better, than the first one.
If you want to talk about Spider-Man, Sam Raimi, I still got to give it to Spider-Man 2. I love that movie. Spider-Man 3, no, I tried to watch it the other day. I couldn't do it.
It's tough.
And that's, like, if what you hear is true, that's when Sony, like, started to get heavy-handed with how they're handling the franchise. Like, don't let the artists that know what they're doing make the choices. Just make the choices.
Yeah.
I mean, I liked The Amazing Spider-Man. I think, like, I haven't gone back to it. I liked The Amazing Spider-Man 2. I know for sure. That's a controversial opinion there a little bit too.
Yeah.
But I did. I liked it. I thought it had like some nice gravitas with the Gwen Stacy stuff. They did it. It was good. It had, it was, what did they say? It was emo? No, they said that Spider-Man 3 with Tobey Maguire was emo Spider-Man, didn't they? But I don't know what they called it.
I don't know.
I don't know what they called this one. But Electro looked terrible, and that's why nobody saw that movie. And at the very least, like, if Sony's gonna go this alone, they need to follow some directions. Like, they need to not mess with what works. Like,
well, and with that being said, Sony, Venom is a Sony movie too. And again, from what I read today, is that Sony did the majority of that movie on their own, but Kevin Feige had some type of touch in the background.
Yeah, that was like, I don't know, that was some rumor. I don't know if I believe it. Like, Venom was fun for what it is, but like the most astute review I read of that was like, hey, 2003 called and they want their superhero movie back. But I like Ben Affleck's Daredevil. I think it was fun.
I liked Venom though.
I liked Venom too.
Yeah.
But like, it started to get a little old. But next time could be good. Like,
yeah.
with Carnage if they do that. But.
Yeah. So I don't think, you know, and why I say I didn't like this decision is because I don't think that Sony had a good working formula for a number of years, and giving up a part of the equation that made it work for the past couple years is not a good idea.
The Amazing Spider-Man didn't look as bad as Four Stick. Like, that's fantastic with the 4 in there.
I got it. Yeah.
Four Stick. Like, they thought that was a good idea. Fox did too. So maybe Disney should buy Sony. That would be nice. I don't know if that'll happen, but Amazing Spider-Man 2 didn't look as bad as that Fantastic Four movie, but it was definitely headed in that direction with the weird glowy blue Electro.
Yeah.
You can have him be Jamie Foxx. You can change his race. I don't care. But you can change his costume too. But like this blue glowy thing, I don't get it. It was a bad design choice, and yeah.
So from the business perspective though, I understand why Sony did it.
It's their biggest franchise apparently.
Yeah.
Like which is, geez, I would think that maybe things have changed over the last few years, but I would have to think a few years back it had to be a different story.
But also, who wants to give up 50-50? I mean, who wants to give up their catalog of characters? You know, Sony may have been gaining the Midas touch as we've talked about, but they were also bound to lose an awful lot too.
I think this decision over 2 Tom Holland movies at Sony and no Spider-Man in any MCU movies, if that comes to pass, will take $500 million out of the industry.
Yeah. That's a pretty precise statement, but okay.
Yeah, I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe I'm wrong, but like if that next Spider-Man movie isn't amazing, the one after it that they're gonna do will definitely go way down easily.
Yeah. Well, so with that being said, though, they did do Into the Spider-Verse themselves, which it was fantastic. I mean, it was. I don't know if there's a word to describe it. I loved that movie. Actually, I just watched it again like 2 weeks ago. I thought it was a great movie, and that was a Sony-controlled movie. So did they learn from their mistakes?
That's some silver lining there, and I've had a hard time going to it at all today. Even though I saw it in the article, I was like, yeah. It still seems like a scary decision because like
it does.
It feels like they were. I mean, come on, like it makes a little bit of sense story-wise because I mean Spider-Man just came out, so I guess it's still kind of spoilery. But that mid-credit scene, like if you're gonna have like time pass in close to actual time, like you seem to be doing in the MCU movie, what are you going to do for 2 years with this being information readily available if they manage to turn that movie around as soon as 2 years from now, which it could be 3, or if
who knows?
I mean,
now,
let's talk about development hell. It could be even longer.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you don't have that backing of Disney and their $1 billion.
If you had done production on a third one already, which I mean they almost certainly are at least doing something.
Yeah.
Like you don't have him on board anymore. Have they known that for whatever preliminary stuff they've done so far?
I don't know. We'll see.
2 years will be tight. It could be 3 years. Maybe they'll do some film back-to-back thing, and put them in your part or something. But
so, do you think that this decision will hurt Disney?
No.
I mean, Spider-Man became a pretty big part of the MCU.
It is a big deal.
Now, what future role he had in the MCU, who knows? But ultimately,
maybe.
I mean, do you think it'll hurt?
Maybe I'm giving them too much credit, but like
get it. I agree.
They are the only ones,
Yeah.
in my opinion, putting out movies that people are genuinely excited to see
I agree.
decent
I agree.
numbers.
I agree, and I don't think it'll hurt. I think it'll matter, even, I mean, at least to me, how they handle it.
It may have come from a cocky place that they make this decision. Like, I
Mhm.
mean,
But I would like to see them handle it or address it in some way other than just never talking about Spider-Man ever again.
you would hope, but like, I mean, does it come to the point where they're not allowed? Like,
Well, I mean, even yeah, I don't know all the legal logistics around that, but even to say, you know, Spider-Man's off doing his other mission right now, you know, we need to go do our job type of thing. I just mention something about it instead of you can't write that character out completely that has done so much in such a little time.
maybe, like, my silver lining is like, maybe it's a little bit the game plan. Maybe these folks still do have their heads together a little bit, and like, while
Now you're
they,
just talking conspiracy theory, but okay.
Yeah. While they may not want, while Sony may think they have the cards to just do this, Marvel might have the time to ride out those two movies.
Oh, Marvel's got nothing but time and money. Absolutely.
Black Widow's coming out, which is a prequel. Then you've got the Eternals.
Mhm.
Then you've got some as yet unnamed things, but it's totally in the realm of possibility. You can have Guardians 3 without talking about Spider-Man.
Sure.
You can have a Thor movie without talking about Spider-Man. But as you've been building this guy up as like the dude that Nick Fury goes to, and
To be the next Iron Man.
asking about Captain Marvel and how she's doing, like,
Yeah.
to be like, that's almost like, unless, I mean, they could try and go with Doctor Strange a little bit there in that role, but like, I mean, even that might be where it gets tricky to not have Spider-Man in your movie, because that's at least like, you know, you're talking like New York City.
Yeah.
Like, but I mean, those movies could come out theoretically before they get to another team-up movie after, maybe. No, it's still gonna be so close. Like,
It is, but then again, you know, I also don't have the timeline or the golden touch to do whatever it is that Marvel's been doing right. So, yeah, I don't know. I think that ultimately, though, that this decision will be worse for Sony than anybody else.
especially if that next movie's not good. You know?
Oh,
If the
absolutely.
third movie's not like as good.
Yeah.
The fourth one tanked completely.
Absolutely. This is where Spider-Man needs his Ragnarok.
Yeah.
More now than ever.
All right, that's it for that. Do you want to talk
Yeah.
about The Matrix 4?
We can.
I don't have too much to say.
I was gonna say I don't.
Matrix 4 was just a side note. Like,
Yeah, I don't
happened
have
today, too.
as much information on the Matrix 4.
It's happening. That's it.
But the fact that it's-
I heard Lana Wachowski. I don't know about the other
Yeah.
Wachowski. Yeah. What do you do there?
I don't know. It would be all speculation right now, obviously, as to what the story would be. Does Neo become the next Morpheus and start unplugging a new Zion? I mean,
It's been a lot of years since The Matrix Reloaded.
Mhm.
Do you remember that Neo is dead?
I do.
Yeah.
I
I mean,
do.
I guess like that
Well,
doesn't
I mean,
matter that much.
supposedly.
But yeah, I mean, did they even do any kind of like? Did they have a Rising Dirt like Batman, Superman, like anything to suggest he was coming back? I feel like they were trying to.
No, if I remember correctly, the only thing you saw were the machines just kind of floating him off at the end.
Okay, yeah.
Now, again, I mean, that goes with how many movies that we've seen in our lifetime that you assume that he's dead. And I think that's been the assumption all these years. Does that mean it's true? You know, I mean, does he could come back as just a Matrix program at that point, you know, without a physical body, not in the real world type of thing. Who knows? I will say that this got me pretty excited, though.
The Matrix 4?
Yeah.
You're excited? about
Yeah,
it?
just the news of it. And I don't know if it's the nostalgia,
or what. But I'm really looking forward to that. Yeah. What about you? How do you feel about it?
I'm pretty indifferent.
Are you?
I probably had more interesting feelings until the Disney news hit like 2 hours later.
That just numbed you, didn't
Yeah,
it? That
it
just.
was, I was getting ready to come in, and like I see the thing on my phone, and it was like, gotta stop, gotta read this whole thing, and then it's been ever since.
So did Disney and Sony break up with each other, or did they break up with you? I'm just trying to figure out what this.
I feel like they broke up. But poor Spider-Man is the child in this divorce, though.
He is. He is. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know.
See, that's all.
Yeah.
All right, that's it.
So what do you think about the split
Oh,
up
yeah,
between
yeah,
Disney
yeah.
and
Put a
Sony?
comment on the
Let us
YouTube
know.
page. Click subscribe and the bell. Is that what they say?
I think so.
Yeah.
I don't know. We're kind of doing
What
this,
is
so
that?
you get notifications.
Where is it?
I don't. We'll figure it out. Let's look.
Okay.